Welcome to the G.N.A podcast, Games, Nerds, and Alcohol, where we get drunk and talk about stuff. I'm your host, Shadow Fox. Wait. Oh, crap, that's right. Tonight, it's actually kind of a short list because apparently some of them are dicking around in either upstate New York or Vermont or something like that. But I'm joined tonight by Zyber. How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm in upstate New York, and I got to hang out with, let's see, that would be 2/5 of the crew this weekend, which was fun.
Sounds good. Sounds better than my weekend's been going. So, normally this is where we would ask more people how they're doing, but again, it's just us two, so let's go ahead and skip on to the next part.
Hold on. How are you this evening, good sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's been kind of a harsh week for me, but I did come back from vacation last week, and that was pretty good. But yeah, this is a week I'd rather forget about right now.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and get what I'm drinking out of the way, though, because we all know it's nothing. Pepsi with cherry flavor.
You traitor.
Oh.
You traitor.
I can't drink the, so, I like cherry Coke. I love cherry Coke. But I binged it for like a month straight. Just because it was there, and now it has a weird taste to me that I cannot get out of my system.
I'm not even talking about that.
Oh.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I am following in suit of Sir Shadow for most of the shows. I am drinking this lovely vintage, not so much vintage, I should say, Pitch Black.
All right. So there's actually a story around this. I am not the cleanest person in the world. My sister actually jokes about me for leaving cans anywhere. In an attempt to reduce my waste of soda, because I have a bad habit of cracking cans open and leaving them around. Yes, you can send an email and ask Cecil if it's something I do. He will say yes. In an attempt to reduce that, now I only buy 2 liters. So when I drink something like Pitch Black or Code Red, because Code Red, you can find it in a 2 liter, just not at my local store. I buy a case and it's considered splurging. I treat it more as a treat than anything.
All right. I gotta say, yes, I'm guilty of the same thing. But you see, this is my area, and I clean it when I feel like it. I don't care what the other half says, or anyone else. I'll get to it when I get to it. And usually it's like 2 days and I'll get to it.
Yeah.
So it's not long.
That's fair. I'm worse than that, and I don't really have a space in my apartment. You've been in here. It's a loft. The only room is the bathroom. Everything else is just a wide open space, which
fair enough.
The cats control. So, are you actually drinking?
Yeah, speaking of cats, my cat has learned how to push out my Opie seat to hop up in it to sleep, and the cat knows that it's forbidden to sleep in my chair because the cat pissed on my other chair that I had to get rid of. And I don't want that to happen to this because, yeah, somebody's not going to shell out over $200 to replace his seat.
When you say get rid of, are you talking about the cat or the chair?
I had to get rid of the chair.
Fair enough.
I wasn't allowed to get rid of the cat even though I wanted to. Even after it pissed on, something we're going to talk about tonight.
Ooh, ouch. So, yeah, I'll tell you about what happened with Kittler offline, but yeah, we're finding him a new home. We love him, but oh well.
So sad.
So sad. Are you actually drinking any alcohol with your Pitch Black?
Negative. I am not.
So we're just
Yep.
Games and nerds tonight, actually.
Yeah, we're games and nerds tonight.
Oh man, you know what? At least Cecil's probably drunk somewhere.
Well, I gave him 4 cans of IPA. When I saw him the other day, so he might be burying himself in those. And he has been buying, like, big bottles of booze, like beer booze, not like alcohol booze.
Oh, yeah.
Trying out all these flavors that he's finding around here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, our crew members are drunk elsewhere. They're with us with spirit, or in spirit. Drinking spirits. So many spirits.
Yeah, I figured I'd be a sober one tonight, considering they're probably out getting hammered. I mean, and I didn't want to have you be the odd man out.
Oh, thank you. Cecil should have learned not to let me host after he let me host an anime night once, and I commandeered, I forget what we were watching, but we watched One Punch Man when I took over the one night.
Oh, nice.
We warned him.
Off track.
Oh man, on track is not something I do. You'd think you'd know that. Alright, moving on to State of Games. At least that's what I think. Hang on, I'm trying to read these notes here.
Yep, State of Games.
State of Games. So Zyber, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I'm still playing and chopping away at Conan Exiles. I am becoming a masterful slaver and keeping all of my constituents in bondage and doing whatever the hell I want them to do. Yeah.
So, I've played that game before, and I played it with Daymok, and I don't know what he goes by these days. He's in my chat somewhere. Where is he?
Veticon?
No, that's Daymok's, other handle, but, no, it was our coworker. I don't want to say his actual name. I'm trying to...
Buffalo?
Buffalo. No, Buffalo has a new name, though. I'm trying to remember what it... I think it's KOH. Yeah, Co. So we were playing Conan Exiles, and so Daymok and I are just running around. Well, I started off, I'd died 9 times because that game's pretty unforgiving at the beginning.
Yes, it is. It is very unforgiving.
So I basically started building my hut next to the spawn, cut out the middleman there, and so Daymok joins in, starts annexing my property into his property, and I'm just going to say Buffalo since it's easier to say. Buffalo, who's hosting the servers, the admin of it, finds where we're at. Using his admin tools, builds a tower. I'm not even kidding, tower. The equivalent of 10 stories above us. And it just starts firing arrows at me.
Yeah, that probably got him also the Reach for the Sky achievement.
Then he spawned Cthulhu to destroy everything. So, as a group, we then moved on, and he made Daymok an admin, so they just kind of, started building without me. At one point, I was begging for food. Yeah, I was like, can somebody throw down some meat or something?
You didn't go and, level up and get the perk to, skin?
I tried to, but like I said at the beginning, that game is harsh. At the beginning, as it should be, but...
Yeah, but if you go around near the, palm trees and shit, while you cut them down, there are freaking grubs there you can pick up and eat.
Oh. Yeah, clearly I didn't learn the game that well. I only played, the one night, too. I think they tried again, then we found 7 Days to Die, shortly afterwards.
Oh, okay, that's when we started playing together.
Yeah, I kind of miss those days. Everyone's just been so busy.
Yeah. Well, my Conan Exiles is open anytime anyone wants to play. I got a big ol' Canyon Fortress going.
Oh, that's good. Maybe next week I might hop in on that. I need to work on some things next week too, and I'm almost done with Borderlands 2.
Oh, nice.
Which is what I've been doing. So it's not like I have this thing where I'm not nostalgic. I like playing things that are familiar to me. I like sequels. I like playing the same games over and over again. So, Cecil got me back into Borderlands 2. He played with me one night, and I just kept going. And I have 1 DLC left again.
Oh, nice.
That's all I've done.
Speaking of familiarity, that's the only reason why I've been sticking with the Conan Exiles. It's very familiar to me to a lot of games that we were playing, such as 7 Days to Die and... a few other games like Ark or whatever. It was very familiar in that sense. So it was okay, I could do this. And I felt it was a little more forgiving than Ark or 7 Days to Die. So I was okay, this is cool.
That is true. So, Conan, a lot of the enemies, yeah, they'll kill you in 1 or 2 hits. The enemies are a little less forgiving, but the enemies just don't really, most of the time, go out of their way. The leatherback turtles, I think it was. They just kind of want to be left alone, but 7 days, everything just wants to murder you. They're easy to kill if you're not, stupid. But Ark, Oh, Ark. Ark was a bad mix of both of them, where you're wandering around. Allosaurus Rex appears, 2 Allosaurus Rex appears, 3 Allosaurus Rex appears, and you're running like a dumbass through the jungle, for lack of a better term, and you're dead.
Yeah, because your freaking endurance runs out, and 2 of their steps is like 40 of yours.
Yeah, so Ark is really a team-based game, and I've learned from our group that we're retarded.
Yeah, we're good in some sense when it's a team, but when someone thinks they have a better idea than the other, not so much.
It's if the game allows like team killing to be on, that's what will happen endlessly.
We did have that on in Ark for a little while.
Yeah, a number of times I've been tranked in Ark.
Yup. I think I was the first one to test that out on you.
So I some of this is a lot of what Cecil did to me was revenge in Ark, because so when we got Cecil into the game, Daymok and I, and maybe you had been playing for like a couple hours, and we had something set up. So we're trying to navigate Cecil to where we are. He dies on a beach about maybe 1,000 yards from us. His dead corpse made it to our base before he ever did. His corpse
Yes, it did.
And in response, he tranked me and then threw me off a cliff.
That, and every time he fell asleep, he dragged you into the water.
Yes. I think he had a vendetta against me. I think I once came back into the game, because in the game, if you're not there, your character's just sleeping. I think I was locked in a box.
I think so.
I am actually now concerned about what's going on in my life. Metaphor? I don't know. You tell me.
It is Cecil Voodoo.
I know. All right. Anything else on that topic?
No, that's pretty much all I've been playing other than Pokemon Go, and that's kind of basic. Oh, I guess we got a drink.
Okay, here we go. Oh, God, I gotta unscrew this bottle. Okay, so I don't think Cecil will actually forgive me if we don't at least briefly touch on the biggest gaming news of the week. The 48-minute gameplay video for Cyberpunk 2077. Did you see it?
I have not.
Oh my God, you need to go watch that. It is a gameplay, I guess, trailer? That's not really a trailer. It's literally just 48 minutes of them playing a portion of the game.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I'm gonna go check that out after the show then.
If you haven't checked that out, audience, which I don't know how Zyber hasn't, I guess he's just had a week that went.
Well, here's the thing. I have other things to do between the hours that I wake up to when I go to work. When I'm at work, I'm at work. And from like 2 in the afternoon to midnight, it's just work.
Fair
when
enough.
I come home, I watch a little, Babylon 5, and that's it.
Fair enough. To everybody else that doesn't have a life, no excuses. Because it was amazing.
Exactly. We hold you to a higher standard.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of us have lives. But in the trailer, well, I gotta stop saying trailer. In the gameplay footage, they basically just showed the fact that it's an open world environment. It's almost like a futuristic GTA kind of thing. The full RPG elements, the customization. They showed how the combat works when you're low leveled, and then at one point towards the end, they're just like, and for this demonstration, we're just going to unlock like late game abilities. And oh my God, it was glorious. I'm getting it.
I'm probably going to get it just based on what I've followed in the little blurbs and the fact that, I absolutely love the Witcher games.
Oh, yeah.
So that's enough for me to give them enough clout on saying, yes, you're going to get my money for this game.
CD Projekt Red, they know how to make a game. There's a reason that they're a double-digit percentage of Poland's, like, GDP.
Indeed.
All right. I'm not really good at describing things, as you can tell here. So go watch it, and we're moving on to the topic of tonight, which was going to be something about health bars and how they've changed. Being me, we threw that out the window. We're talking about camera equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, we bounced that idea. It's to me something that we need more of the crew than two to really discuss. So yeah, we bounced it.
So instead, we're talking about cameras because, as some of you have probably figured out, I'm a photographer because, that's what my website, morganbs.com, is about, and so is Zyber.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Zyber, go ahead and give out your website information.
My website information is too big, so yeah, I'm gonna pass.
Oh, you passed on me. It's somewhere in the G.N.A. Discord, guys.
Yes, it's in there somewhere. It's a Wix site, so it has all that Wix information in the link, so it's long.
All right, so let's. I'm adding one thing to the start of it. So, I'm pretty sure we're both Canon DSLR users. That sound right?
Yes. Yep.
But we're gonna touch on. I want to touch on some of the things that are coming out of both Canon and Nikon. But for my background is I've been shooting. I picked up photography about 2 years ago, roughly, after traveling around the country. And I picked up my Canon Rebel T6S and have since bought an 80D and a Canon 60, and I have like 5 or 6 lenses floating around. But I mostly do a lot of wildlife photography, and then on occasion some landscape work I'm trying to get into a little bit more, and I'm trying to do portrait work, but not a lot of models available to me. Skylar, despite being very attractive, doesn't like her picture taken.
I hear you there. I picked up photography when I was 14, and that threw me into this vocational training they had through school, which had photography. They, had you develop film and everything. So that was like 17 through the time I graduated at 18. And ended up going to school for fine arts, which was mostly photography and graphic and visual communication, which I ended up getting my degree in.
Nice.
So, yeah, I ended up stopping after I moved to Hawaii and all my gear got, stolen out of our car.
All right, kids, that's going to be our first recommendation for the night. Get insurance on your camera gear.
Yeah. And at that time, I was really, really huge with the stuff that Pentax was putting out. So that's what I originally started on, was Pentax bodies and Rosemont lenses.
Renter's insurance should cover it.
Yeah, at that time, I don't think that was offered through insurance companies.
So that's the number one thing that kills me about camera equipment. That's the first thing I've learned is it's expensive. So expensive. And for the record, I do IT work for the federal government. That's where I make my money. I have made approximately negative like $8,000 on photography.
I do security at a community college. I am probably about negative $8,000 myself within there. Give or take $1,000.
Cecil's my only client.
So far, my roundabout client is D.
Nice. Gotta get them D's to get the dollars.
Exactly.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, is maybe your opinion might be different since you've had a lot more years of experience. I come from the digital age 100%. My experience with using an SLR is 100% digital. I'd never had manual cameras, so camera advancement and all that. I don't have a lot of information on since before 2 years ago, I wasn't involved. But the number one thing I see on Reddit posts, and I guess Nikon and Canon are responding to it, is Sony has really brought the mirrorless camera to the forefront.
Yeah, I heard on Sony's advances, I guess, but I don't know. I like some of the Sony products that they put out, but when it comes to cameras, I've never once liked a Sony camera. Sure, they have comparable color rendering to, say, Canon, which I love the Canon Color Lab. absolutely freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, the colors that come off the Canons are amazing.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'd have to actually use the gear in length to actually form a solid opinion other than what's in the article. Because my opinion of articles is, hey, if you're paid to write an article, you're going to have a bias whether or not you're going to say something's good or not. That's just the way I feel about anyone writing an article.
I'm the same way. My biggest issue with the Sony mirrorless and the Nikons and the Canons that I'm going to mention in a minute kind of rectify this. The biggest issue I have with Sony is the same issue that most mirrorless cameras have is the idea behind the mirrorless, for those of you who don't know, is to replace the mirror mechanism in a DSLR or just remove it entirely, which makes the camera slightly smaller. And in my opinion, that's not really a gain. So when you mount a lens on the front of these things, you mount a 70 to 200, your entire body and lens combination, you're looking at 6 to 8 inches. Yeah, they're not small. They are not small things. So when you get a mirrorless versus a DSLR, the actual savings you're getting is, yeah, some of the lenses are a little bit shorter, but the actual savings is in weight, not the actual size. And Sony has attempted to make the actual bodies as small as possible, which has resulted in these tiny little grips. And I haven't had the privilege. Yeah, I guess I haven't had the privilege of picking one up and holding it. But like already just using a Canon 80D or a 60, that grip is already kind of small without the battery grip extension on it to me.
Yeah, that's like with my camera. I have the 7 Ti, and that is a smaller version of the 80D.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically a shot-for-shot clone of it. It's just a smaller version. The only thing that's really different about it is that top little screen. That's the only thing different. Other than that, they are pretty much the same exact camera. Well, also the fucking ISO stretch is a little different, but not by much.
Oh yeah, there's always going to be sensor differences. But so Nikon's have already officially announced their Z series, Z as in Zulu series camera, and that's their foray into mirrorless. And Canon has the upcoming, hasn't been announced yet. They've had mirrorless in before, the M mount, which I don't get it myself, but it looks like they're about to release a new product line probably next month, judging by the links. But it's going to be the R series with apparently more compatibility with the EF ecosystem. But the common denominator between these two new designs is they don't have those super shallow grips. They don't get rid of the top deck display. And that's one of the things, like, I'm not going to move over. I need that top deck display. I don't want another dial on the right side. No, just give me a button and let me use my scroll wheel and let me keep my top deck display. So both of those are going to keep that.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I want to either get a 6D as my secondary or primary and have the T7i as a secondary, because I like the T7i. I mean, it's that nice threshold.
Oh, it's a good camera
body, right? It's that nice threshold body between, like, advanced and beginner, but also I want that more professional camera, like with a 6D or like an 80D. There's no, like, unless I get a lot of money of me, like, getting the 1DX that I want, but hey.
For the record, I need to set up a GoFundMe for a 1DX Mark II, and then other.
Yes.
Wait, that's
same here.
That's down the road. That's another subtopic we have on this. But yeah, that's my thoughts on mirrorless. And honestly, when Canon actually officially announces it, I'll take a look at it. But quite frankly, I'm the kind of person that I like the heft of the bodies of the mirrored cameras. I can see why some people like the mirrorless design, and I don't know why people are saying that mirrorless is going to like snuff out DSLRs, because I think a lot of people like you and I are probably going to stick with the mirrored designs. I mean, they might go away, who knows, but both still have advantages at this time.
Right, like with film. Film is basically, obsolete now. There's really no call for it unless it's specifically something someone wants. And then you're paying like an arm and leg to get it developed these days. Like when film first started, it was great, but now since digital has pushed that to the wayside of nostalgia or specialty pieces, I think that might end up being what happens to mirrored cameras. It's going to be pushed out into that, oh, that's nostalgic, that's so grandpa or grandma or whatever.
And that's likely. So I don't know the full history, but I don't really think digital took over analog until the sensors on digital started coming out with high enough resolutions to actually do like good quality printings and then had the ISO performance.
Right. Like when cameras started to get past that, like, I believe it was 12 to 15 megapixel. It started to become, okay, well, as a company, we want digital over film. One, it costs less to develop pictures because all you do is print them. And that also pushed printers to become better at printing.
So, and going into that, this is a side note for those of you who are listening that are on the fence about picking up photography. Photography is easier now than it was in the 80s and 90s and before to pick up and learn how to do. Digital is king for a reason. You know how long, like, I was able to learn what I know in photography, like the quality of my pictures expanded rapidly well, they're still expanding now, but to learn the basic settings of what would have taken you years to learn on analog took me months on digital. Because in digital, you can just keep changing settings, take a shot, change settings, take a shot, and you get that instant feedback that's going to teach you your mistakes. You're going to learn the mistakes faster, and you're going to learn the right way to do things.
Right. You're not going to burn through film, which costs money. You're not going to build through developing costs. Again, money.
But before, like, when analog was at its cheapest, how much would it have cost to print out a picture?
Usually around, like, let's say a 24 shot roll. You burn that whole roll and you get it developed. It was anywhere between like $6 and $20.
So let's just say about 50 cents a shot, roughly, on average.
All right, fair enough.
All right, so 50 cents a shot. So my entire library, and I've cleaned it up and I've deleted some stuff, but my entire photo library right now is somewhere around like 88,000 shots in 2 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I do wildlife. It's expensive. Well, it would be if this was analog, because in order to see that stuff, I would either have to review it in a dark room as a negative, or I would actually have to get it all printed out. Now with digital, and this is why digital took over, is I can take those 88,000 shots and I can look at them in full resolution, select the best one, go, okay, what were my settings on that? Okay, that's good to know for next time, because all my setting information's there. I didn't have to write it down anywhere. It's all in the files. It says, oh yeah, you shot this at 1/2000th of a second at f4.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking to get into photography, digital's the way to go. You're gonna learn the stuff quick because it's that instant feedback. And even if you can't remember what you did at the time that you hit the shutter, your computer knows exactly what you did.
Right. And another good thing about it is if, say, within reason, the light is a little off in a shot, you can correct that a lot easier than you would be able to with a analog shot.
Okay, so that's my other advice, is if you're beginning, shoot in RAW and learn how to edit the photos. Get the we don't have a sponsorship or anything with them, but Adobe's has a Lightroom/Photoshop subscription. It's $10 a month to get both applications. One allows you to do some light editing, and it's basically a giant catalog. And the other one, it's Photoshop. Everybody knows that. But there are free alternatives as well to both of those.
Or if you don't want to go the monthly route, one program that I use is Portrait Pro. They have scenery, they do portrait editing and all kinds of other stuff. For like $280, which you would normally back in the day pay for Photoshop instead of basically renting Photoshop, you could do that route also.
The point is, shoot raw and get yourself an editor of some shape or form, depending on the platform. There's also like Darkroom and all that. But get a photo editor, and because when you shoot it and when you shoot raw, it has all the data available to it, whatever the sensor pulls. If you shoot in JPEG, it takes it, renders it, and then dumps the unused data. You shoot in raw, and I did this when I was on that trip last week, where it was a panorama shot. The sky was completely blown out in this shot. There's all I had at the time, because I had nothing to edit on, was just the JPEG pulls from the camera. I shot it in RAW, so I still had it when I got back, but the original, the clouds were like completely blown out on this panorama. Nothing I can do about it. I got the RAWs into my computer, stitched them all together. I was able to bring it down. You can actually see the details in the clouds now, and it looks significantly better. And I still shoot RAW because no matter what, I'm going to do some kind of edits to the photo in some way, shape, or form. And the only reason that you use JPEG is if, A, your camera has a limited buffer and you're shooting an action sequence, and that's okay. But if you're just in a learning process, I would recommend shooting in RAW format.
Yeah, personally, I only shoot in RAW. The only time I ever accidentally shoot in JPEG is, say, I use a battery that isn't a Canon brand battery, and all my settings get reset.
So, I know of at least one photographer I work with. He does everything in JPEG, but he also has like 40 years of experience doing this, and almost everything he does is like the local team sports stuff. So it's just going to newspaper prints. So what he's doing, he knows what settings he has to be at, and he needs to be able to essentially write as many files as he can to an SD card as quickly as possible. So that's his reasoning behind it.
That's like a different kind of thing, though. If I can fucking talk. That's basically turning your SLR, your DSLR camera into a point and shoot, because you already have a pre-scripted sequence of what your settings should be.
Yeah. And you're not going to know that off the get-go. So if you're just starting out, RAW. Look, actually, I'd say read the manual and find out where it says in there how to switch it to RAW, and then leave it in RAW until you're comfortable in what you're doing. Which I'm still not.
I mean, there's also, if you don't feel like reading fucking manuals, there's a lot of good YouTube tutorials out there also for specific bodies on how they work.
Oh yeah, there are so many good ones. There's this one channel that, in addition to just general information and stuff, they will go through and like newly released bodies, and they go back like 10 years. They'll actually do like a 60-minute long video of, here's the camera body, here's what this button does, here's what this button does. So there are so many of those on YouTube.
Adorama has some good informational tutorials also on their YouTube channel.
And there's nothing wrong with the kit stuff is perfectly fine when you're starting out. The kit I picked up when I started, it was a T6S with an 18 to 135, and the first lens I got is, everybody should get one of these. It's a 50mm f1.8 for your respective brand, the Nifty 50. It's a great entry-level portrait lens. Everybody makes them. They're dirt cheap.
They are great at shooting weddings, too. I just want to throw that out there. They are absolutely great.
But my first, as everybody that's ever handled it has said, my first real lens was a 70 to 300. And I have since sold it because I picked up my 70 to 200 f4. But that's, so when you start off with a kit lens, discover what you really want to shoot and do your research from there. So I live in a city, But oh man, architecture is boring to me. So boring. But I live on a river in the city as well, so we have so much wildlife. So know what you want to shoot and research that. So my primary lens for wildlife is a Sigma 150 to 600, and that thing is a monster. Did I bring that one to Massanutten? I don't think I did.
No, you didn't. I think you only had the 500.
Oh, it must have been the 70 to 300 that I had with me. Oh man, that thing though is a monster. And like I said, it's expensive, but you gotta know what you want to shoot. Oh god, he ran off. He's coming back with something. What is he coming back with? Oh god, what has he got? He's opening it up. He's pulling it out. Wouldn't be the first time. Oh, what is that? Is it the Tamron?
This is the Sigma 17500.
Oh, so you got it.
Yeah, I got it a while ago, but the only thing, I love this lens, I do. Don't get me wrong. I should have spent the extra $100 and got the one with IS.
Oh, yeah. If you're starting out, IS is your friend. Actually, IS is your friend in general.
Yes, it is.
That was,
but yeah.
So, basically, that's one of those things where when you're starting out, you don't know what you want to shoot. The kit stuff's going to do you just fine until you discover you want to do wildlife or you want to do landscape or you want to do portrait, because it is such an expensive hobby. And now I'm doing 3 different things, and each one of those lenses get quality up front.
Yeah, like for myself, I'll shoot anything that I'm hired for because I'm not going to turn money down. But personally, I like shooting wildlife. A lot of times I shoot flowers more than anything else. And for that, I'd like to use my, 128 to 135 ultra wide with IS. I love the thing. I want to get the other version of this, the more current one, which Shadow has. I believe it's the 18 to 105 or something like that.
The 24 to 105?
Yes, the 24 to 105.
I was just playing with the Gen 2 at Best Buy today. Oh, get the Gen 2.
All right.
It's that lock switch itself is worth it.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I want to get one of those lenses. I had one for like 4 days, and at an event that I was at, I kind of broke it because it dropped.
Whoops, this is why I don't rent gear. Which, by the way, if you're just starting out, renting gear is a way to go. Most places will let you do it. The only condition on most places is essentially you have to use your card, and they'll put a hold on the card for the amount of the value of the lens for situations if you break it. So you just gotta baby it, but there are companies that do that.
Yeah, and if you live down in the city, both Adorama and B&H will rent out gear. They just hold a retainer. So
that's another way to get into it. If you're not sure, you want to test out gear and you just don't trust reviews, there's like lensrental.com. They'll ship it right to your door.
That's good to know.
That's my understanding. Like I said, I don't rent gear because I don't like holding other people's equipment in my hands. That's just me.
Yeah, same here. I'm particular. That's why I have put on a little debt buying glass.
I mean, I've wandered out on some slippery rocks on the river just to talk to somebody while holding like $3,000 worth of camera equipment on me. And like one slip I go in the drink, but all my stuff's insured. So it's all on my renter's insurance policy.
Yeah, I don't have renter's insurance. I need to get that.
Ooh, it's like $10 a month.
Yeah, true. But my insurance right now, I'm in a transitional phase for my auto insurance. So it's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be staying with who I'm with or moving on.
That's fair. So the number one thing I want, and I'll never be able to afford this in my life, maybe when I'm like 40 and all my debts are gone and like I have $1,000 or a couple $1,000 in savings, is so anything at the 800 millimeter mark for wildlife, those things start off like at 10 grand.
Yes. There's a Sigma that I want that's like 2 foot in diameter for the lens and tapers down to like what my 500 is. That thing is freaking phenomenal on like the reviews of the photos it can take. And I saw some of the photos that it took of, say Mars when it's in view. And yeah, I want that lens only because of the pull for both nature and night shots. Like shooting in the sky, you pull in all the freaking light because of how wide the barrel is on this goddamn thing.
Oh man. Oh, that's speaking of shooting the night skies. This is like a 2-part thing, and this is where I wish I had been into photography before I went out there. So I had the pleasure of visiting the desert in the middle of the summertime, the American Southwest in the middle of summer. I do not recommend ever doing that, for the record. Not in the summer, maybe like the spring or the fall, but never the summer, because you'll experience what 117 degrees feels like.
Hashtag Flagstaff, Arizona, been there, done that. Don't want to do it again.
But the American West, and I don't know how well it works in Europe, because Europe's a lot denser than the United States, but they have stricter rules on light pollution. Astrophotography, I love space, but like just the basics for astrophotography to get that that sharpness while still having a wide open aperture, that already is going to set you back there. But they have just essentially tripods with auto tracking heads, and all this stuff is like pre-calculated. These assemblies start at like, I think one was starting at like $45,000, and it just tracks the nighttime sky. So you can do the 10-minute long exposures without any of the star trails, because it's essentially matching the rotation of Earth on the tripod. You got that little flash going. Which one was that, by the way?
This is the 430EX3.
Oh, that's the same one I have.
Yeah,
that's the one with the radio in it. Is that a Me Photo tripod too?
It is a zombie.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say you just copy my setup. I'll fight you.
What I need to do though is I need to get another 2 flashes so that I can set them up in slave mode and master, and see if I could get people convinced enough to let me take portraits of them.
The RT is the most surprising release from Canon for that Gen 3, because previously you could actually use it as a master on their most expensive one by radio transmission, and previously the little remote transmitter to make that work by itself costs as much as that flash. So now, instead of just buying the radio transmitter so you can use the more expensive flashes off body, you can just buy that flash for the same price, get an additional flash along with the radio transmitter. Makes no sense, Canon, but that's what they did.
Hey, if it works, that's all I care.
Oh, it does work, and it's the exact same cost, and I need a second one for reasons. Skylar can never listen to this podcast.
Oops, it fell off the truck kind of thing?
Whoops, yeah, I don't know where this came from. It was a GoFundMe. No.
And that's why Shadow is missing a kidney.
Oh, I'm not missing yet. I am very honest with my purchases. She's just sleeping when I do them. And she wakes up and like, oh, by the way, I spent money. Yeah, that's my life.
Yeah, I just got to get my purchases to start paying for themselves. Yeah, that's why I'm not really all that stingy with any gigs that I do get.
See, I'm just, I don't know if it's because maybe it's just where I'm at. I live in essentially a arts college town. So photographers here are a dime a dozen. Nobody has asked me to shoot anything for them.
Do you network?
Not really. That's also part of it. I just mostly do this as a creative outlet. I'm not a very artistic person. I can't draw to save my life.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I network any chance that I get. Like, if I go to a coffee house, I drop my business cards.
Fair enough. Like I said, I mostly just do this for fun. I think it's like the 1-year anniversary of when I was published coming up. And it wasn't even like a physical print. It was basically just an online article of, hey, despite everything going on in the world, here's some cool pictures taken around Richmond.
Yeah. I haven't been published yet. Outside of like when I was in college. Other than that, I have not been published. And the publishing was in college magazine. That was it.
Fair enough. That's pretty much where I am. Speaking of which, I did get a new, not directly, camera accessory. So my trip out to Western Virginia, not West Virginia, Western Virginia, there is a difference. Like I said earlier, my biggest issue was the Canon Connect software. You can pull the images digitally off the camera, but it'll do it as a JPEG. So there was no way for me to edit the RAWs. And even on top of that, using a finger on a phone or even a tablet isn't fun. Like, at all.
No, I hate that myself. And I'll get into something after you're done.
So, my most recent purchase, it's the thing you would not expect from me. It's actually an Apple tablet. It's an iPad. I know, right? So, here's...
You went fruity.
Oh, I know. I went fruity. For one reason. This goddamn pencil. So hear me out on this, and I might get disowned for this. So I looked into a couple options. One of them was the Surface Go at $400, and then an additional $100 to get the pen with the Surface Go, and it runs a full version of Windows. You have to unlock it to be a home version, but it runs a mobile, not even a Core i3. It's one of the cheaper chipsets, and I don't think it'd be able to handle Photoshop or Lightroom. I really don't think it would. So that option was off the table. The other option was a Samsung Galaxy Tab, and the equivalent Galaxy Tab to an iPad runs for $600 starting. Like $600. So here I am going, okay, well, let's look at the iPad. And the most recent basic version of the iPad, the one that starts at $324, has the Apple Pen support. What? When did this happen? Apparently this year. On top of that, I come to find out that Adobe is actually actively working on a full version of Photoshop for the iPad to be released next year. So the total I think I paid out of pocket was $500, and I have full RAW support.
Okay, that's that might convert me.
And this is all I'm using it for. So it fits in my bag. And I have a version of Lightroom that syncs to the cloud because I pay for the subscription thing. I get 100 gigs. Actually, I get 120 because I'm also paying for something else too. I got 120 storage space. And now my new workflow is I plug my SD card right into this iPad using this adapter here. It brings up an import dialog. It lets me import the raw files as is. Lightroom's already configured on the device to pull all the things from the reel in. So it imports them there and starts syncing to the cloud if there's a connection there. And then on my home PC, it pulls a copy down to a folder, and I just tell the regular Lightroom on my desktop to import from that folder to keep in my permanent collection. I don't actually have to plug an SD card into my computer at all anymore if I don't want to.
I'm right there with you, but in a different manner speaking. For myself, I use a NAR box. This lovely little thing right here. It will import RAW, photo, and the raw format of video. So it all goes on here. It's 260 gigs in this lovely little computer that I use also with this. It doesn't use any processing power from the tablet, just syncs it as a screen. The processor in the NAR box does everything. But also, if I feel like it, I can open up these tabs and plug shit into it.
Nice.
It's basically a computer on the go that handles all the other shit.
So that was the other thing I looked into as well. I think it's either SanDisk or Western Digital, one of the two. They have essentially one of those as well, where you just plug in the SD card directly into it. It's a portable hard drive. You just plug the SD card into it, and you hit the button, and it makes a full copy.
But this isn't a portable hard drive. It's a mini computer.
Yeah.
This has its own OS on it and everything.
So that's the more advanced version.
I guess if you want to go that way. But also this, I could throw it off the side of a mountain, pick it back up, and it still works.
Solid state technology right there. Solid state is the future, people.
So that's another reason why I went with this. It's durable as hell. So if I'm out in the woods somewhere and I'm syncing all my photos to this, and say something happens, I still have this to fall back on with all my shots.
This weekend was the first time I actually took the iPad out in the field with me. And with T-Mobile, I have like 5 gigs of hotspot data for my phone. So I got the Wi-Fi tablet. So what I can do in the field is, while I was still staring at this heron that was 10 feet away from me while it was doing essentially nothing, I was able to pull the card out, swap it with another card, import the picture of the heron onto the tablet, make corrections to it because the heron's doing absolutely nothing but staring at water because herons. And I was able to get that photo sent out while I was still sitting on the rock. I love technology.
Nice. I might end up going that route. I mean, my Samsung plan gives me 10 gigs of hotspot. But I have so many dead spots, it's not even funny. The only spot where I'm on top of a mountain or in the woods that I know I have good connection is up in Lake George. But that's about it. Anywhere else, it's like, just wait until you get somewhere that has Wi-Fi or cell reception.
Yeah, you want to... The best time to learn that you don't actually have a mobile storage solution is when you leave town for a week, and my entire solution at the time was, well, just bring all 4 SD cards with me and hope none of them die. It was not a good solution.
Yeah, I have a book of SD cards, several 64 gig. I have 2 124 and then some like 32s, but I only go to the 32s if I'm really desperate.
So I don't know why this took me so long to get one of these, but every SD card you buy comes with these little plastic cases which are super easy to lose. And I've actually killed an SD card by leaving one of those in my wallet. So what I try to do is when I go on these walks is just to, for lack of a better term, I try to carry the minimum with me. So I killed an SD card doing that. So Pelican, and I assume other companies do this, they make these SD card sleeves, essentially, where this one will hold 12 SD cards in, and it's about the size of a very large wallet, and you could just shove this right in your pocket.
Yes, absolutely. And I have one myself, which I have this little case here that it fits nicely into, which I also keep a lot of my wires and everything in also. But yeah, about 12 definitely. I mean, if I use the adapters with the smaller SD cards in it and then fill up all the little micro SDs in there also, I could probably get more than 12.
For those of you just starting out, a lot of people will tell you if the micro SD card isn't native and you can't risk losing the photo, try to avoid using an micro SD into a SD card adapter for a camera, because more connections means more likely a failure. Not saying it's going to fail on you, but you're increasing the odds of a failure. Just a heads up.
Yeah, I just used the micro SDs because they were a lot cheaper. I got a bulk pack of them, and it was a lot cheaper,
which is fine,
than buying a solid SD card. The only solid SD card that I have is I think a 64 gig. Nope, 32 and a 64. That's about it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing it, but if you have a client paying you $2,000 to be there for those shots, try to remove as many fail points as you can and be as redundant as possible.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, they're not going to pay you if you don't deliver.
That's where you have unforeseen things in your claws.
Yeah. Get a second camera body. All right, I think we've ranted about cameras for long enough.
Sure thing. And like always, there's only one question from the audience, which we're going to change this to questions from Zyber, because, yeah.
Well, we had to stop
again.
Damox.
Well, true, but that's for other reasons that we already touched on. But, yeah. When gaming or doing other hobbies, do you ever forget to do anything that's important and makes you feel like such a noob to where you facepalm?
Do you ever forget to do anything that's important and feel like such a noob that you facepalm? I'm going to go right back to the previous topic.
Or novice or whatever.
Going back to the previous topic, and this is why I shoot raw. Here's so for photography. Like I said, I've been doing it for 2 years, and the first thing I do is, so most of my photography, I do it as a walk. I go on like a 3 to 6 mile loop around the city I live in. I walk out of the house or my apartment building, and the first thing I do is bring the camera up to eye level and fire off a shot and review it. I do this for a couple reasons. A, make sure I have an SD card in there, because if you walk 2 miles before you get your first picture and my camera doesn't let you squeeze off a shot unless there's an SD card in there, I have it set up that way. It shows that I have an SD card. 2, it shows that I removed the lens cap, because you don't want to walk the 2 blocks over right to the canal and see a heron right there and it's doing something adorable and you bring up the camera and your lens cap is on. 3, it allows me to ensure that I've set my baseline settings to where I need them to be, because everything I do is outdoors. I need a base exposure. I trust the in-camera exposure to the best of my abilities, but it does a full scene, so if I'm working with, if I know I'm going to be shooting like darker animals, I'm going to overexpose, and I need to overexpose to compensate for it. So I do that in an attempt to reduce it. Now, it doesn't mean I still don't screw up. Like, I think I walked around for like 2 days without image stabilization on, because I didn't notice. But yeah, when I found out about the whole image stabilization thing, I was just like, wait, seriously?
For myself, I'll go with that. I'll go with the previous topic as well. For me, though, on that, it's my freaking outdoors filters. When transitioning from being outside to inside, I forget that they're on my lens.
Oh, this is why I don't use filters. Like, I've tried to use filters, I can't stand them. But no, I'm the same way. Because what I'll do is I'll put the camera up in the closet, and then like, oh, the cats are doing something adorable, and I'll go grab the camera and I'll fire off a burst of shots. I'm like, oh, none of that's usable. It's like pitch black.
Absolutely. That was actually something I did yesterday, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I did it again when I was reviewing photos last night.
Oh, that's I would say about a quarter. Not a quarter, maybe mostly like an eighth now, because my keeper rate's actually insanely high these days. I'd say about an eighth of that 88,000 photos is just trash photos. Just no redeemable value.
I'm right there with you. I have 6,000 photos on my portable drive, and most of that's trash.
And like, I like Lightroom. It's a great application for managing photos, but it is not fast. And when you're trying to dig through 88,000 photos to just be like, that's crap, that's crap, that's crap, it's time consuming. I think the last time I did it was like 6 months ago, and I started with my oldest stuff, which was easier to do back then because half of it was trash. I was able to everything just rate it all as a 1, do a filter for all the ones, just delete everything. And I cleared up a couple of gigs. But when my biggest issue is just going through and being like, that's trash, that's trash, it's just so time consuming. I should really do it after I get back, but I don't.
Yeah, my process is a little different. Before I go into the Portrait Pro program, I use the EOS program and look through all my shots. If something doesn't look good, I trash it and don't even convert it over or whatnot. It's just a matter of getting it on a bigger screen for me to say, okay, I'm going to work with this shot, to, okay, it's garbage.
That, I know we're supposed to be done with the topic. That's my other advice. If you're just starting out, take as many shots as you can when you're starting out. Because that little 3-inch screen on the back of the thing, it'll look great on there, but you might have missed focus, and you don't really see that till you get that up on the 20-inch monitor at home. Take the shot, recompose, take the shot again if you have the chance. Always do that, because there's nothing wrong with this, and I deal with this, so I do a lot of wildlife. Right. I work with subjects that move around frequently, like a bird can just take off and I gotta try to get it in flight. There's nothing wrong with spamming the shutter. Don't let anybody tell you there's anything wrong with it. Spam that shutter until you hit the buffer. Just do it if you have to. As long as that subject's there and the subject's moving. If the subject's moving, spam the shutter, because there's nothing wrong with it. These cameras are rated for a minimum of like 100,000 shots for most of them.
Right. And if you can get that motionless motion, that's great. Like if the bird itself is still, but you have that movement in the wings, that's a good shot to me.
Yeah. Practice, practice, practice. Oh my god, we've made this about nerdy camera stuff. Oh, God.
Just like shooting planes, if you were to, say, go to an air show, you want that motion in the propeller, just not in the body of the plane.
I would say also rent at least a 600mm lens if you can, if you're shooting an air show.
Yes, that as well.
If you live in the Hampton Roads area, I don't know if Langley still does it, Langley Air Force Base, but even if they don't and you live near the base, that is where the F-22 demo jet flies out of. I know because it's the reason I have tinnitus. Wear earplugs at an air show. Just saying. But yeah, air shows are freaking great. I would love to go to one. I just need to look up the next time Langley does one. So A, I can be nostalgic for being at my old base. And B, aircraft. I love aircraft. I'm not saying that's part of the reason I joined the Air Force, because quite frankly, I needed the job at the time. But I never once actually complained when a jet flew by me. It's freaking amazing watching them fly.
Yeah, the only air show I've ever been to was the ones that they have in Ocean City, and that's about it.
Have you seen the F-22 flying at the Ocean City one?
I saw the Blue Angels.
I love the Blue. I grew up to the Blue Angels. I'm a Navy brat. Seriously, go find an air show, people. Even if you're not a photography, air shows are amazing.
All right. With that said,
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking them up. Oh, by the way, Zyber, that 70-200 Skylar's indirectly mad at you. That 7200 F4 IS I picked up, that's your fault.
No.
After massing up and seeing your 70-200, I'm like, yep, it's time. I need some white L lens in my life.
It's not my fault. Yours is better than mine. Fuck you. It's not my fault.
I only get lenses with IS. I picked it up used.
Yeah. See, the thing, though, is when I ordered mine from Dell, I thought it said it had IS, and it didn't.
Also, just good advice in general for all levels of photography. There is nothing wrong with used gear. B&H, Adorama, Canon, I'm pretty sure Nikon does it. I don't know if Sony does it, but the refurbished from the factory, so Canon and Nikon, I can't speak to Nikon because I haven't done it, but Canon's refurbs, other than maybe like a scratch on like the lens cap, my 24-105 was in pristine condition. My 6T body, pristine condition, and that stuff it's like new. And not only that, it actually has higher quality control than anything you get new, because it means a person physically held it, physically went over the device, made sure everything was flawless with it, versus something that comes off the assembly line, which one unit out of every, 200 might get checked. The refurb stuff means somebody physically held it in their hand and inspected the device and said, this meets quality. Nothing wrong with refurb, and it generally is about 10% off the get-go. You just don't get the boxes generally. Refurb. Other than that, Cecil demanded I go through this list of stuff at the end of it after Zyber's question and answer session. You all can submit questions in the G.N.A. Discord. Yeah, so okay, there we go.
Just look for that hashtag, Ask Your Questions. That's ASS Your Questions. Ask your questions.
Please, somebody other than Daymok, we don't take his questions anymore. Love you, Daymok. Alright, we really hoped you all enjoyed the show. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Reviews on iTunes help people find the show. So if you're enjoying listening to us, let other people know. You can also find us on Android with Google Play Music, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Player FM, Spreaker, MyTuner, and Your Listen. And wherever else you want to find, next page, us. I'm terrible at this. Let us know and we'll upload it there. You can also follow us on Twitter at G.N.A Podcast or join us in our Discord chat. See the pinned tweet. Facebook. We're also on Facebook. Just search at G.N.A Podcast. We've started playing and hosting guests on our other streaming feeds, www.twitch.tv/G.N.A Podcast, and on Mixer at www.mixer.com/G.N.A Podcast. I apologize if it sounds like my neighbor's hammering something. They probably are. We have partnered with Humble Bundle. Since you're the only other host, tell us about Humble Bundle, Zyber.
But first, I'd like to say you can, in fact, find us on Spotify now. We have no qualms with them anymore. Ignore those previous episodes. But yes, our friends at Spotify now allow us to share ourselves there. But yes, Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is a partner of ours, and their service, you buy games like you normally would, but with a twist. You just buy the game and decide if you want to give it to the developer, Humble Bundle, or, I don't know, a charity. But our partnership, if you throw in $partner equals G.N.A podcast, at the end of the link, it'll say, hey, G.N.A sent us here. They do us a little kick that goes to our charity that we sponsor of Extra Life, which we are also going to be doing Extra Life come November 3rd, the big event. As of today, we have $36.81 in funds that we slung over to charity. So be sure to stop by Humble Bundle, grab a bundle, and throw in that partner equals G.N.A podcast. Help us out.
Thank you, rotating host. Oh, wait. Whoops. Thank you, Zyber. We are a proud member of the Ninja Pancake community. Check out our good friends Proxy Fox over at Yeah Dude Gamers. Also check out our friends Matt and Wilco over at Ultra Super Mega. This is going to really sound weird since it's me. We want to thank myself, Morgan BS Photography, for our new logo and artwork. Check me out at morganbs.com. Email us at gnapodcast@yourdna.1 with questions, comments, concerns, death threats, thoughts about Zyber's face, thoughts about Shadow's face, thoughts about Cecil's face, probably about D's face if you really want to, and Blue. I don't think they're going to care as much, though. But they might.
They might. They might. I mean, he hates blue people, but doesn't mean he's blue.
We would love to hear from you. Last but not last? Wow, that's... Okay. Last but not last, check out our website at www.gnapodcast.com. Also, I think I did this out of order. Zyber, where can people find you at?
You can find me palling around on the G.N.A Discord, Facebook, Twitter, as well as my own Facebook and Twitter. I have a website. Again, it's a Wix site, and I'm not going to say it. Just look around G.N.A or on any of my other formats, like my Twitter is on there. But yeah, if you want to game on my profile for Discord, all that stuff's there. If you want to play, go there.
And you can find me, Shadowfox, at morganbs.com if we haven't said that enough times tonight. All my affiliate links are on there. I am on Reddit, Twitter. I don't really use the Twitter that much. Instagram, that's where I mostly post. I post there more often than anything. And on Facebook, I'm there as well. It is facebook.com/MorganBS. I know I got that domain name back in 2008 when they first rolled that out. It's called domain sitting. Nice. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have a good night.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Hurry up with this pain shit. I've got Maury Povich to watch.